All right, here's number 6. So now I have x to the 5th, meaning I'm going to end up with 5 solutions. I notice that I can't factor this because there's too many terms. So what I'm going to do is I put this equation into y equals, go to my table by hitting second graph, and looking for when y equals 0. So I notice that y equals 0 at x equals negative 4, x equals negative 1, and x equals 2. So I'm going to go ahead and do synthetic division with these 3 terms. So I'll start with negative 4 first. And when I do synthetic division, I have 1, 3, negative 4, negative 2, negative 12, and that's a negative 16. Always drop the first term. So 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. 3 plus negative 4 is negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 4 is positive 4. And that drops down to 0. 0 times negative 4 is 0. Drops down negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8. Negative 4 plus 8 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. So that drops down to 0, and I have a remainder of 0 there. Next, I'm going to go ahead and do synthetic division with negative 1. So I drop down my 1. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 plus negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 1 is 2. 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4, and I drop down a 0. That's my remainder. So next, I'm going to go ahead and do 2. So drop down my 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0. 0 times 2 is 0. 2 plus 0 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Remainder of 0. So that means what I have left is x to the 0, x to the first, and x squared. Well, when I write this out, that means I have x squared. I don't need to write 0x, but I do need to write plus 2 equals 0. So now what I do is I need to go ahead and solve this equation, x squared plus 2 equals 0. I need to get x by itself, so I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides and get x squared is negative 2. Next, I need to go ahead and get x by itself, so I need to take a square root. Every time I take a square root, I have plus or minus. And then every time I take a square root of a negative, I'm left with an I term. Remember, I is imaginary 1. And then you can't actually take the square root of 2. So here's what we end up with. There's 2 solutions right here being positive I root 2, negative I root 2. And then these 3 solutions here, I ended up with 5 solutions just like I wanted.